Hi, welcome to the AnandaShree Astrology Full Moon Forecast for January 20th, 2019, a lunar eclipse. So, the light of the moon is growing, waxing and waxing. We're in between eclipses. And on January 20th, beginning around 8:41 p.m. Pacific time, and peaking around 9:15, we're going to have a total lunar eclipse. This is the first time this has happened for quite a few years in the United States, to see a total lunar eclipse completely for such a long period of time as well. It's actually a supermoon, so it makes the duration slightly longer, a little over an hour of totality. And it's also called a blood moon because when there's a supermoon, the light of the moon is even brighter than normal. The moon is actually physically closer to the Earth. And so the light of the lunar eclipse takes on a sort of red tint sometimes. Of course, blood moons are referring to biblical reference. It's not Vedic astrology, but this is a very powerful total lunar eclipse, especially for people who are in the vicinity, who are actually going to be able to see it. Eclipses are powerful times of transformation. They do accelerate change. They can create surprising situations, turning points where we have decisions to make around maybe relationships or career or any number of things, depending how this eclipse is affecting us on a personal level, how it's transiting our natal chart. If you're interested in getting a natal reading with me, by the way, I do one-on-one readings. So there is a link below if you'd like to. Also, thanks a lot for subscribing to my YouTube channel. The link below is there too. So this particular lunar eclipse is powerful, right? This is going to be one of the most dramatic events all year long. Total lunar eclipse, especially for people in the United States. It's also seen, so you can see it in the United Kingdom, Europe as well, partially at least, but it will be fully visible in the United States if you have a clear sky. Now, in Vedic astrology and Vedic Hindu belief in general, it's actually not such a good idea to go out and stare at an eclipse like this, especially if it's transiting in a key area of your chart. So I advise not to go and observe the eclipse, although they are very fascinating, a blood moon, right? But it's the best thing to do is to go indoors and have some time for reflection. Don't do any activities, especially not cooking, and avoid eating around the actual hours, the climax of the eclipse. And if you do mantra, or if you pray, or you meditate, this is a time where you can get an extra zap of energy. In fact, they say that during eclipses like this, there is an exponentialized energy of every mantra you say, every prayer you say. So this is a wonderful time to be doing spiritual practices. The total lunar eclipse is going to be in the nakshatra, the area of the sky called Pushya or Pushyami, Pushya nakshatra. Pushya is an area of Cancer that is connected to spiritual knowledge. It is like Cancer, a very deep feeling and caring. There's a huge well of inner energy, of love, divine connection to one another that comes from Pushya. Now, Pushya is the star of nourishment because of that. The symbol is a cow's udder, the cow that gives nourishment, milk, or the lotus flower that blooms from the mud, the spiritual knowledge that comes from nature and from our hearts. Cancer actually rules the area of the heart and the stomach. So this is a powerful, powerful eclipse for inner emotional healing. It can be. Now, a lot of this is about what we believe about ourselves, what we believe is true about ourselves, and how others have taught us of what is true of the world as well. You see, Pushya is ruled by a Vedic deity called Brihaspati. Brihaspati was the guru of the gods, meaning the teacher of even the gods. He was the holder of sacred wisdom. And so he is connected to all people who teach this wisdom. and connected also to the study of scriptures. So priests and teachers and counselors and gurus and people who are holders of sacred tradition and even secrets are affected by this eclipse. It's true that this is a kind of eclipse that can bring up scandals within the church. It can expose secrets too, even and change tradition, making stress on anyone who's trying to hold to the old ways, unfortunately. But it is also around nourishment, on the inner nourishment of our soul, our inner child, you could say, right? So when certain traditions or beliefs or our culture doesn't fit or doesn't actually provide anymore the nourishment that's necessary for our spiritual evolution, this is the kind of eclipse that stirs it up. And it may be a powerful time to really be cutting ties with beliefs that maybe or advice that doesn't resonate anymore with your heart. And in general, letting go of the past in an eclipse is a powerful activity. So any kind of cutting of cords or reevaluating what happened in your past even, and choosing to see it from a new perspective. Now, since the beginning of the year, Jupiter and Venus have both been in Scorpio. Venus moved into Scorpio, and she's been moving closer and closer. Now, these are the two gurus of the sky. Actually, Jupiter is like Brihaspati. He is the guru, of the holder of sacred knowledge, while Venus is also a kind of guru. She was considered to be the guru of the asuras. These two planets, when they come together, can have some trouble because Venus loves to enjoy life and to express herself, while Jupiter has a more moralistic standpoint. But in general, they are two benefics, and when they come together, they do create generosity and open-heartedness and a lot of possibility of healing through relationship as well. Okay, although right after this eclipse, there is a powerful conjunction that's going to happen between them. Just a couple hours after the eclipse reaches its maximum, the two planets will join in Graha Yuddha, where they will remain for about 2 days. They're going to be very closely conjoined. Okay, so they say in Graha Yuddha that two planets, especially when they're not exactly friendly towards each other, like Jupiter and Venus, they have a tendency to sort of step on each other's toes. They're in each other's territory, like two spiritual gurus having to share one temple for a while. Not always, it's a little awkward. So there may be a few days around this eclipse where it does really feel like there has to be a change, maybe in the type of friends you have, your relationships, the type of advice you're receiving or giving. So it's really important during this eclipse to use this energy to do internal work and not to try too hard to be getting your nourishment from others, but finding the well within, the infinite well of nourishment that comes from our heart and connecting in with our inner needs, right? Our desires and our inner child. So this is a powerful eclipse that is alongside some really intense planetary alignments. But the good thing is that this Mars-Jupiter trine that I think I've been talking about it for a few weeks now, because it's still going and it's reaching its maximum just a few days after the eclipse, 6 days after. And so this is giving a lot of sort of enthusiasm and optimism and hope in a lot of ways and activities. So, one thing about Pushya, its energy is it's nourishment and caring, right? This spiritual knowledge and generosity. Jupiter is actually exalted in Cancer because of that protective and loving energy of Mother. So this is a great time to be reaching out. Look around, look at people in your community that may need help, or the population of homeless people in your city, and find out what's being done to help them. Find and get involved, or just donate some money. And also for education. Around this time too, education is under a lot of pressure. Jupiter's in this Graha Yuddha, and this lunar eclipse in Pushya. So if you know people who are teachers or just programs for education that you can get involved with, helping teachers, helping our education systems in your community, whatever, in whatever way you think you can, is a great activity to be doing at this time. Education is so important for our children and for the well-being of our future too. So if you'd like to know more about what's happening in the future too, I am offering my 2019 predictions web class recording still for a purchase, not much longer, but I am offering it on my website. There'll be a link below if you'd like to check out what I have to say. There's a lot of rare and very powerful combinations of planets happening in 2019. It's quite phenomenal, actually. And so if you'd like to know how it affects you on a personal level, I go through all 12 Vedic signs. We do horoscopes. If you'd like to check that out, there is a link below to purchase that. Okay, so let's just see what the tarot cards have to say about this powerful lunar eclipse coming up in Pushya. Okay, so the first card that came up was the Princess, or the Page. In this deck it's Princess, but it's often in more traditional decks the Page of Cups. And she's holding, see an offering there, a turtle. Kurma. The princesses, there's another princess too that came up. Two princesses, Princess of Coins. The Page or the Princesses are actually the youngest energy in the deck. It's interesting because talking about nourishment and innocence, in a way, that innocence of giving the teacher and the student, that relationship. So the Princess of Cups has to do with that. The vulnerability of our true selves, the part of us that, we're all dependent on each other. We all came from a mother. And how we mother ourselves, how we nourish ourselves. She's all about nourishment. The Princess of Cups. She serves, she gives, she nurses. She takes care of others. And then the Ten of Swords. This is a card of reaching the limit. Breakdown. Can't go any farther. Very appropriate for the energy of an eclipse. And the Princess of Discs, somewhat similar, the nourishment, but she's very grounded. She's one of the most powerful cards in this deck, actually. She holds sort of the inner nourishment from the ground itself, from the earth. She's rooted, very powerful. That divine source of nourishment. So I think the cards are speaking about, where do we get it? Where do we get that feeling of the knowledge, the sacred juice of life, the ojas that feeds our inner child? And how do we give it? How do we take care of others as well as ourselves? Do we give too much? Do we give it in the correct way that's good for both of you and the other? Patterns have to change so that their new patterns can come in. They can create more sustainable and better relationships, better connection to what's really true and infinite and grounded. Very powerful message here. take a look. Have you had enough of giving and giving? Or maybe you aren't receiving. Rigidity of old patterns cannot be sustained if they are not connected to the true nourishment, if they do not truly support us. Are we truly giving ourselves the nourishment that we desire and we need? Security is right below your feet. There is stability. There is love that is always there, ready to nourish and support you. Break free from the patterns that have blinded you or separated you from the source of true love and compassion and generosity that is your true nature. Wow. Powerful lunar eclipse for sure, coming up this weekend. Take care of yourselves. And if you would like to know more about how it affects you personally, you could purchase the webinar it's a forecast for the entire year to come. It's only $25. You can purchase it below. It's almost 2 hours long, so check it out. And also you can get a one-on-one reading with me, tarot or just Vedic Astrology, or both together, whatever you request, and we can take a look at the year coming for you as well. That link is also below. And be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Just do it. It's right down there. And I hope to see you soon on this next new moon. Okay, take care.